Hello. I had to work for a couple of days earlier this week, so I just got up here. It's about noon on Thursday. Gorgeous day. The forecast looks great. Really excited to be here. Looking forward to hunting this afternoon.
We've got about 2 hours before we go out hunting. Jordan got in here just a little bit ago, and we've been running with the dogs and messing around here, just relaxing. But I've got to get about 5 acres more disc so I can get the acorns in the ground here. Boy, the ground is hard though. The prospects of getting these acorns to germinate now is really pretty small. The ground is just so dry. So we need rain. There's none in the forecast. It's even hard to disc this stuff because it is just so dry that the disc doesn't even sink into it. It's like a rock. But I'm going to go ahead and do what I can, and hopefully I'll have some seed here within the next week or so. You ready to roll?
I think so.
Well, we're going to go back to the same spot that we hunted. Let's see, when were we there? Friday night or Saturday night? Saturday night. Yep. It's really pretty warm out. I think it's warmer than what the forecast said it was supposed to be. Wind is a little bit southwesterly, and that should blow our scent out into that cornfield behind the stand. And I mean, the deer were moving pretty well these last few days. I've gotten a lot of texts from people with photos of really nice bucks that they've shot during this past week. It's warmed up now though. I don't think we're going to see as much movement, but the spot that you're sitting in is a good spot. So even if there's not a lot of deer moving, that would be one of the, I would say, high probability spots. So we're gonna hunt this spot as often as we can because it's a very controllable shot for somebody who's never killed a deer before with a bow. Ready for a four-wheeler ride?
I think so.
All right, here we go.
We got up in the stand and the wind is out of the exact opposite direction that it was supposed to be out of. We thought it was going to be southwest and it's almost direct north, so that's not exactly ideal for the stand, but there's a good chance that it could lay down a little bit before dark, so fingers crossed for that. It's a gorgeous night. It's probably 60, close to 60 degrees, so definitely a change from what it has been the past few days. It was a little chillier, cooler, even down in Iowa City. Yesterday I woke up and it was 20 degrees, so it's a huge swing from that, but we'll see how the night plays out. I'll say it again. My dad was very pleased when I decided to switch my hot chocolate container this time instead of the open cup that I brought last time. I was trying to think of a joke and I couldn't come up with one. I wish there was vodka in this.
We just had a little buck come in, and we learned a couple of lessons there. He really surprised us. Boy, we aren't on these deer as well as we should be. I think we're just probably not paying enough attention. But anyway, by the time I got to him with the camera, I don't think I got this deer in focus either. Okay. But he really reacted when I grunted. I was going to give Jordan a green light to shoot this one, although he was just a 1.5-year-old buck. But he was right in the shooting lane, right in that gate opening. And when I grunted to stop him so she'd be able to make her draw and prepare for the shot, he just turned inside out. I can't say that I've ever seen a deer react that aggressively when I've grunted to stop him. And maybe it's because it's just so still and he was so close that it just really surprised him. But that was an interesting lesson. I'm not going to do that again. When it's this still and the deer is that close, I'm just going to shoot him walking. I mean, myself, it's a lot easier, but I guess with Jordan, I'm not sure what we'll do. But anyway, some good action there. I mean, we're getting, hopefully, one step at a time, a little of experience here where, at some point I'll get the video good and we'll get the shot, where we need it, and everything will work out. But the buck is still down below us.
Is that the same one?
I don't know. There's 2 deer down there, I think.
Yeah, I told you. I thought I saw a couple.
They might be going down towards that pond.
Yeah.
And it's hard to film them down through all that brush, but we've got about maybe 20 minutes left of legal shooting time. And if anything else pops out here, we'll definitely show it to you. But this is going to be our close, our official close for this hunt, because I just hate doing those in the low light in the dark. But eventful, like I said. We're learning from our mistakes, and pretty soon we will have made enough mistakes and learned enough lessons that it'll come together for us. It was a really, really beautiful morning. The sunrise was gorgeous. Got the coffee pot rolling, got a little breakfast frying up, and then we've got a full day planned ahead. I've got to get these blinds out. You can see them sitting right out here. If I wait too much longer to put those out, then they're going to make too much of an impact on the deer. Once they finally, pop into the woods or, the field edge. So I'm going to get these 3 blinds out today, and then we'll come up with a plan for the afternoon hunt. But that never stopped us before. I'm going to move this blind up onto one of the ridges behind me here. That it's an old pasture. Well, it's not an old pasture, it's a current pasture. The cows are going to be out of there next year. But in the meantime, the guy that I bought it from had somebody leasing it, and they had made a electric fence around a little small corn patch. Well, the cows got through the fence and trampled the corn, but there is still some corn left. And this blind is going to go up to that spot. It'll be a cool spot, if not for bow hunting, at least for hunting during the late season. Maybe if our son gets a gun tag or whatever. Either way, it'll either be a really good bow stand or a really good late muzzleloader stand. But it'll hunt way best out of a blind up there. I mean, there's spots where you could hunt it out of a tree, but if it starts to get cold, it's just not near as much fun when you're up there freezing. So we'll get this blind moved up there. And I've got 2 more I need to get out, and really you can't put them out right before you hunt them. The only way you can do that is if you're going into a spot where the combine is just finished up picking the corn. Then you can bring the blind in and leave it, and the deer don't really notice that it's something new in there. They just think it's farm equipment that got left over from the harvesting. So that works pretty well, but otherwise you really need to give the deer time to get used to the blind. And I say at least a week, 10 days is better. And that's kind of what I've seen using trail cameras over the years, where you see the deer like stay away from the blind, and then little by little they start to get used to it, and within about 10 days they're back to normal activity around it. So we're going to get this thing moved and then move on with the rest of the projects. Bowhunting Whitetails is brought to you by Day 6 Arrows, Redneck Blinds, Code of Silence Apparel, Fuse Archery, and Hoyt. Boy, there's Asian beetles everywhere. It was upper 70s today for a high. We're going to the same spot where Ethan and I hunted 2 evenings ago. And it's pretty close to the building here, so it's going to be a quick run. I don't have a lot of expectation with as warm as it is, but you never know. I mean, that 10-pointer, he seemed pretty excited about being out frolicking around last time, so maybe he'll come out again this evening. The wind is really still. I won't say it's dead calm. What are you doing?
I'm getting bit.
Oh.
Sorry, I don't know.
Here, let me hold that.
Okay.
While she's getting bit, these Asian beetles are so bad. I think it's worst around the building here, but anyway, back to the hunt. I think it's going to be mostly thermals this evening, which should flow away from the upper end where the deer came out last time. That's what I'm hoping for. Because when the wind lays flows just like it would if it was water. So let's see if that little theory works. We'll go up and put it to the test. But I mean, we're not going to shoot one in the building, right?
True.
No, I mean, maybe that's not the world's best advice, but we do only have this evening, and then Jordan's going to be back down to Iowa City for a few days and then back again next week. So this is going to be our last crack before this show goes live. We got in a little bit late, and before we could get all our gear set up, there were 2 does in the upper end of the plot, and the one finally saw us, and then a doe heard us up on the, or must have, well, probably not heard us, probably saw us up on the ridge, and she blew. So it's not a very good way to start out the evening hunt. But we still have a little bit more than an hour left here, and there's still some chance that a buck will come out. And it's cooling down nice, surprisingly. I thought it was going to be hot, but it actually feels pretty good. The wind is blowing right down the valley, just the way we were hoping. So all the conditions are right. I just wish that we could have got in here a little bit cleaner. But, you know, there's always some hope, and you know, maybe before the end of the evening, we can show you a buck or two from this tree. One of the things that we'll try to do with each of our hunts with Jordan is talk about the things that beginners don't know. Squirrel. That people with experience just take for granted. And one of the first things that I'll do in a stand is pick out my shooting lanes. You know, find the holes I'm going to shoot through. Every scenario, just, you know, I mentally rehearse what I'm going to do. And when we got up here, I caught Jordan just sitting there, and I asked her where she was going to shoot for each angle that a deer might come in. So she had to go through that mentally and figure that out. And that's just I mean, it's a good tip for everybody, but it's one that I think it takes a while for beginners to learn, because they just assume they can process all that information on the fly when the deer is actually coming. But the more we hunt, the more we realize that you know, we can't hold our thought process that well with that much adrenaline flowing. So it's just, like I said, we'll try to have a little bit of something that we learn with each one of these hunts, that maybe they're lessons that people with a lot of experience might just shrug and go, well, you know, who doesn't know that? But there are a lot of people that watch these that don't have tons of experience. So some of these tips might be helpful to them. What else have you learned, Jordan? That, I mean, today we learned that every minute counts. You know, go ahead.
I guess, I don't know. Let me think. I'll get back to you.
She'll get back to us on that one. But yeah, you just assume, well, things are going to work out the way that you expect, but they don't always. Sometimes you've got to really hurry and get in there because every minute does count. You know, I've had that happen before where, gosh, if only I would have just gotten up 15 minutes earlier, or, you know, whatever the case may be, that would have changed the whole outcome of a hunt. And tonight's another example of that. We thought we had all night because it was so warm, but you get down to this valley and it's actually pretty cool. So the deer were coming out, well, nothing out there now, but the deer were coming out earlier than we expected. Get back to hunting.
So that's what I learned today, I guess.
Okay, so fortunately for us, Jordan's going to bless us with the tip that she learned.
I was thinking for a little bit there, and I remembered, I think it was last week or the week before, I was kind of panicking because I couldn't find my release aid. And it was just in the pocket of my pants, but my dad brought up the point of clipping it to your bow when you're not using it. So I've been really diligent about doing that. Every time I take it off now, I just hook it on my bow. So that way if I change my pants or change my jacket or something, I won't forget it in my pocket and then be out of luck when I need it. So that's my advice from one beginner to another. Keep your release aid on your bow when it's not on your wrist.
Well, that's not bad advice for anybody, really, because I've left mine behind more than once. So there you go. Words of wisdom from Jordan Winke. You know, we're down here in this valley and it feels pretty good. You know, cool breeze blowing, nice thermal coming down the valley. But I'm sure up on these ridges where these deer are bedded, it's still pretty warm. You know how the cooler air settles into these pockets like this. So they probably still think it's 60 some degrees out, where we're feeling like it's 50 down here. We might see something yet before the evening is over, and if we do, we'll bring it to you before we close out this hunt. But in case we don't, let's talk about what's coming up in the week ahead. Today's Friday the 21st, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always figure the best time to start hunting mornings is around the 25th. And I haven't looked at the forecast that far out. Have you looked to see what it's going to be like into next week?
It wasn't going to be cold.
Like seasonal?
I think so.
Like 50s in the day?
Yeah, I think so.
You're okay if it's 50s in the day. You know, if it's 70s in the day, like it's, you know, like it is this coming weekend, that's bad. So I would say probably morning hunting kicks off this coming week, maybe midweek, and then it carries right on through into November. I feel like the morning hunts really need to be in the bedding areas or funnels between two bedding areas. And by that I'm talking about the doe bedding areas. It's kind of hard for me to anticipate exactly where a buck is going to bed, although once in a while I'm able to pull that off. But it's pretty easy to know that these ridges around me are where the does bed, and the bucks know that too. In the area where you hunt, if you know the places where the does usually bed, those are the spots where you need to really focus your morning hunts from here on out. I had pretty good luck last season hunting those areas in the evenings too, but the only downside with that is the deer are clearing out with about an hour, pileated woodpecker, with about an hour or an hour and a half of legal shooting time left. The deer are clearing out. But up until then, you can get some pretty good action. Well, good luck, and we'll see you right back here again next week for the next episode of Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails. And remember to always dream big. Why don't you say that? Remember to
Always dream big.